Sequels rarely surpass the original. Off the top of my head, I can name only a few. Mega Man 2 is a no-brainer. Metal Gear Solid 2 is arguably better. If not for the plot twists that left us scratching our heads, you'd have to agree it's mechanically superior. Another candidate is Silent Hill 2, which I consider the pinnacle of the SH franchise. And finally, Resident Evil 2. You'd have to be a zombie not to see it's better than the original in every way. Back in the late 90s, when dial-up tones were the soundtrack of our internet adventures and Tamagotchis demanded our constant attention, Resident Evil 2 burst onto the scene like a well-placed rocket launcher shot to a mutant's face. Funny enough, the game was scrapped midway through development and started over from scratch. Somehow, the team managed to create a masterpiece of survival horror using systems that few games have managed to replicate. The zapping system, or scenarios, although not perfect, created a realistic scenario A and B for Leon and Claire, giving us a total of 4 possible playthroughs. Talk about replay value. It was like getting 4 games in one, which was a big deal when your allowance had to cover both games and that new pack of Pokemon cards. If you saw my previous video on Resident Evil, you'll know how excited I was when RE2 originally came out. I had a friend, Tyler, whose parents didn't want him playing violent video games, so I became his personal analog streamer, recording gameplay on VHS tapes and handing them off at school like they were top-secret Umbrella Corp documents. Before Twitch or YouTube, there was me, my trusty VCR, and a stack of blank tapes I'd scrounged from the bargain bin at Blockbuster. Those were the days when buffering meant your tape had wrinkles, and streaming involved actual rivers. I still remember going to school and pretending to talk to Tyler like characters in the game, complete with hand gestures. We'd mimic handing each other items with exaggerated animations straight out of the game. People probably thought we were infected with the T-virus, or maybe just suffering from too much Surge Soda and Pop Rocks. The game uses a much more professional lineup of voice actors, a huge step up from the original game, which felt like they dragged people off the street, handed them a script and said, "Good luck." Without a spell checker, apparently, since Barry famously says Jibble sandwich instead of Jill sandwich. Whatever that means. Maybe Jibble was a typo. Or perhaps Barry was just ahead of his time, inventing new words like bootylicious before it was cool. Let's talk about the voices behind the characters. Paul Haddad voices Leon S. Kennedy, bringing depth to the rookie cop's disastrous first day. Alison Court plays Claire Redfield, delivering a strong performance as she searches for her brother Chris. Sally Cahill voices the enigmatic Ada Wong, giving life to the biggest tease in gaming since Princess Peach. Lisa Jai portrays Sherry Birkin, the young girl caught in the chaos. It was like a who's who of 90s voice acting, making the game feel so much more immersive, like stepping into an episode of your favorite Saturday morning cartoon, but with more zombies. The best part of reaching Scenario B is the sudden and unexpected appearance of what fans refer to as Mr. X. The nickname comes from his mysterious nature and the fact that Capcom didn't give him a proper name initially. He's officially known as T-00, but Mr. X has a nicer ring to it, less of a mouthful than Trenchcoat Tyrant. He stalks you for the majority of the scenario, with encounters requiring you to take him down, rewarding you with supplies. It was like playing tag with a freight train wearing a fedora. Side note, he's greatly expanded in the wonderfully done remake, but I'll save that for a future video. Same with the original RE remake. The tank controls are still there, but I was an expert by now. After beating the original Resident Evil, and with Capcom giving us RE Director's Cut to tide fans over during the long wait, which didn't add all that much but gave us something to satisfy our cravings, I was ready for anything. Navigating those fixed camera angles felt as natural as swapping out discs mid-game, a common ritual for us PlayStation gamers. Remember when games came on multiple CDs? Kids today will never know the struggle of praying your console wouldn't accidentally turn off during a swap, or the next disc was scratched beyond repair. The plot centers around Claire Redfield looking for her brother Chris, and Leon just having the worst first day on the job ever. Together, they find Sherry Birkin, a young girl whose parents are scientists working for Umbrella Corporation. Sherry is caught in the middle of her family's twisted experiments and the outbreak in Raccoon City. Big surprise. I know Umbrella was behind everything. It's like finding out the reason your Walkman kept eating tapes was because Umbrella had a hand in its design. William Birkin, Sherry's father, gets shot by some Umbrella operatives, one of whom is named Hunk. Hunk is an Umbrella security service agent, known as the Grim Reaper, for being the sole survivor of multiple missions. He's the kind of guy who probably lists dodging death under special skills on his resume. After being shot, William injects himself with the G virus, turning into a monster who desperately wants to find his daughter to replicate his genes. I don't even want to know how that family reunion works out. Leon encounters the biggest tease in gaming history outside of Princess Peach, Ada Wong. She tells Leon she's looking for her boyfriend, John, who was mentioned in a note in the original game. The password was Mole, and in the remake, Cell. Yes, I have that memorized. Turns out Ada is working against Umbrella, just wanting the G. What does the G stand for anyway? Officially, it's Golgotha. But I like to think it stands for Gonna Ruin Your Day, because that's what it does. They escape the streets, but first meet my favorite character in the game, the weapon dealer, Robert Kendo. He tells Claire, "Don't you worry, girlie. I'll keep a close eye on things," and then gets immediately eaten. So much for that. It's like the game developers wanted to remind us not to get too attached to anyone unless they're carrying a plot device. Kind of like when your favorite character on Buffy the Vampire Slayer suddenly bites the dust. Later, they stumble into the police station to find out Marvin Branagh is bitten too. They encounter the biggest weirdo in the franchise, Chief Brian Irons, a man with more issues than the Raccoon City Times. They escape the police station and, after briefly wandering the sewers, wind up in the underground lab, which they blow up alien style. What's up with self-destruct countdowns in these games? It's like every villain shops at the same evil overlord warehouse. Oh, you want the deluxe lair? Comes with a complimentary self-destruct system and a mutant monster. Batteries not included. You have to beat the game in Scenario B to see the true ending, which is mostly just a badass rock song.
It's up to us to take out Umbrella.
Well worth it, I say. Nothing screams 90s like rocking out to a guitar solo while the credits roll. It's the gaming equivalent of a mic drop. Looking back, it's clear that Resident Evil 2 didn't just raise the bar. It set an entirely new one. It's the kind of game that sneaks up on you like a lurking zombie in a dimly lit hallway, and before you know it, you're hooked. Even after all these years, I find myself drawn back to Raccoon City, tank controls and all, like a moth to a flame. Or maybe a gamer to a well-stocked item box. It's funny how a game about a catastrophic viral outbreak can bring so much joy. Maybe that's the real T-virus, the one that infects us with endless nostalgia. Resident Evil 2, not just a sequel, but a timeless classic that reminds me why I fell in love with gaming in the first place. And to think, all this started with a PlayStation, a memory card, and a stack of VHS tapes. Sometimes I wonder if Tyler still has those tapes. Maybe they're sitting in a box somewhere, next to his Furby and Pogs collection. Ah, the 90s. A simpler time when saving the world meant pressing start and hoping your mom didn't pick up the phone during your dial-up session.